Lumi the little lamb in his peaceful green field. In a peaceful green field where the grass was soft and the air smelled of wildflowers, there lived a small, fluffy lamb named Lumi. Lumi had the whitest wool you ever saw, like a little cloud that had tumbled down from the sky and decided to stay for a while. He loved to run through the clover, sniff at daisies, and watch the butterflies dance. But more than anything else, Lumi loved to ask questions. One bright morning, Lumi heard the older sheep talking in low, warm voices about a very special day that was coming soon. "Easter is nearly here," said one old ewe with gentle eyes. "Yes," nodded another, "the most wonderful day of all." Lumi pricked up his little ears. He had heard that word before, Easter, but he wasn't quite sure what it meant. And there was another word the sheep kept using, a word that made him feel warm and puzzled all at once. That word was love. That evening, Lumi trotted over to his mother. She was standing at the edge of the field, watching the sun turn orange and pink behind the hills. "Mama," said Lumi, leaning against her warm side, "what is love?" His mother looked down at him with her soft brown eyes and smiled the way only mothers can. "Love," she said gently, "is something you show, not just something you say." Lumi scrunched his little nose. He thought about that for a moment. "But how do you show it?" he asked. "You'll have to find out for yourself," she said, nuzzling the top of his head. "But I think you already know more about it than you think." Lumi was not so sure about that. He looked out at the wide green world and decided there was only one thing to do. He would go and find love himself. The next morning, Lumi set off across the field on his small, wobbly legs. The first friend he met was a mother bird in a tall oak tree. She was tearing tiny pieces of bread and tucking them gently into the open beaks of her babies. "Is that love?" called Lumi up to her. "It is," she chirped happily. "I share what I have, even when I'm hungry myself." Lumi nodded and trotted on. Next, he found a big gray donkey pulling a heavy cart up a muddy hill. The donkey's hooves slipped and strained, but he did not stop. "Are you all right?" asked Lumi. "Oh, yes," puffed the donkey kindly. "My farmer needs these sacks delivered. I don't mind the hard work if it helps someone I care about." Lumi thought about that as he walked on. A little further along, he saw a fluffy hen spread her wings wide. Underneath her, safe and warm, her chicks peeped and shuffled. "What are you doing?" asked Lumi. "Keeping them safe," the hen clucked softly. "A storm is coming. I don't mind the rain if they stay dry." A bird, a donkey, and a hen each show love in their own way. Lumi sat down in the grass and thought very hard. The bird shared her food, the donkey worked hard for someone else, the hen protected her little ones. They were all doing something, but Lumi still felt like something was missing, something bigger, something he hadn't quite found yet. Love is shown through actions, giving, helping, and protecting. As the days passed, something strange happened in the town beyond the hill. The bells that usually rang with joy fell silent. People walked slowly with their heads bowed and their voices low. Some were crying. Lumi crept closer to the stone wall at the edge of the field and listened. He heard them speaking about a man named Jesus. They said he had been the kindest person who ever lived. He had healed people who were sick. He had fed people who were hungry. He had loved everyone, the poor, the lonely, the forgotten, and turned no one away. But now he was gone, and the people were heartbroken. Lumi felt a heaviness settle over him like a cloud. He didn't fully understand, but he could feel the sadness in the air. "If he loved everyone," Lumi whispered to himself, "why is everyone so sad? Did love fail?" He went home slowly that evening, more confused than ever. On the third morning, Lumi was woken by something he had never heard before. It was the sound of joy, pure, bursting, brilliant joy. Bells rang, people laughed and embraced, children ran through the streets with flowers in their hands. The whole world seemed to be celebrating. Lumi scrambled to the top of the little hill and looked down at the town, his eyes wide. An old woman near the gate was weeping, but not with sadness this time. Her tears were happy ones. She pressed her hands together and looked up at the bright morning sky. "He is alive!" she called out. "Jesus is alive!" Lumi's heart gave a great leap. The sadness was gone. The darkness had lifted. The story was not over at all. In fact, it felt like it was just beginning. He galloped back across the field as fast as his little legs could carry him, his wool bouncing in the wind and his heart full of something he couldn't yet name. Lumi ran straight to his mother and tumbled into her warm side, breathless and bright-eyed. "Mama, Mama, he is alive! I heard them say it!" Her mother laughed softly and wrapped her neck around him. "Yes, my little one, that is the miracle of Easter." "But I still don't understand," said Lumi. "He loved everyone. Why did he have to go through so much sadness first?" Her mother was quiet for a moment. Then she spoke gently. "Because real love is not just a feeling, Lumi, it's a choice. Jesus chose to put everyone else before himself. He cared for others even when it was hard, even when it cost him everything. And that," she said softly, "is the greatest love of all." Lumi was still. He thought about the bird who went hungry to feed her babies. He thought about the donkey straining up the hill. He thought about the hen in the rain, wings spread wide. And now he thought about Jesus. They had all done the same thing, hadn't they? They had chosen someone else over themselves. "Love is something you do, even when it's hard," said Lumi slowly. "Now you understand," said her mother. True love means helping, forgiving, and putting others first, even when it's hard. After that day, Lumi was a little different. Not in the way he looked. His wool was still fluffy and his nose still twitched at interesting smells, but something had changed on the inside. When little Pip, the smallest lamb in the field, couldn't reach the sweetest patch of clover, Lumi stepped back and let him go first. When old Barley, the sheep, struggled to climb the muddy bank after the rain, Lumi stayed close, walking beside him slowly so he wouldn't feel alone. When the new piglet from the farm next door wandered through the fence, frightened and lost, Lumi trotted over and stood beside her, quietly, calmly, until she stopped trembling. He didn't do these things to be noticed. He did them because he understood now what love really was. And the strange thing was, the more he gave, the more his heart felt full. That Easter evening, as the sun melted into the horizon and painted the sky in shades of gold and rose, Lumi climbed to the top of his favorite little hill. He looked out at the glowing world, at the fields and the trees, the flowers nodding in the breeze, the first gentle stars appearing one by one. And he felt something warm spread through him, from his small hooves to the tips of his fluffy ears. He whispered it quietly to the evening sky, not to anyone in particular, but just because it was true, and the truth felt too good to keep inside. Lumi on his little hill watching the Easter sun go down. Now I know what love is. Love is kind. Love is selfless. Love is full of hope, just like the message of Easter, the end and the beginning of a life lived with love.